What's up, everyone? Steven here from techmaker.tv. In this episode, I want to dig a little bit more into this aleph.im network, and I want to set us up to kick off a new series. So I've decided that going forward in 2021, I want to do something a little bit different than I did last year. So last year, I got a bunch of different series going on all at once, trying to talk about different topics, and it became a little bit too much for me to manage. Frankly. So I think what I want to do going into this next year is basically do a long string of episodes about one particular thing and then move on to another project. So the next project I want to do is a fully decentralized chat application. It's going to be utilizing this aleph.im network, and it's going to also use Node and potentially React. I'm not 100% sure about how I want to do all of that yet. But in any case, the main thing that I want to do with this is personally wrap my head around some of the ideas inside of this aleph.im network a little bit better. I'm also kind of trying to beef up my understanding of Node for some other projects that I'm working on. So it all just kind of makes sense to me as something to kind of dig into. We're definitely going to be doing some more Ruby on Rails stuff. I don't know if we'll have some intermittent episodes during this series, just kind of one-off things. We might, but then I think the next series will either be Phoenix or Rails. I'm not 100% sure yet. So anyway, it's just kind of, this year's going to be a little more exploratory for me. So if you're along for the ride, great. That being said, I also need to talk a little bit about decentralization a little bit more, because I think that's a topic that a lot of developers aren't fully aware of or understand too well. So we'll do an episode on that coming soon as well. So if you're still here, let's actually get into the episode, which really shouldn't take us too long. Basically, what I want to look at is WebSockets from this aleph.im network, and this is an experimental feature. I was chatting on the Telegram with Mosh, and I think he actually set this up for me because I was bothering him, so thank you, Mosh, if you're watching this. So basically, the way that this app that we were looking at in the last episode works, there's this refresh method, and I'm sorry I'm scrolling so much. So there's a refresh method that basically pings the network, and then there's a set interval here where every time, every 1 second or so, we are pinging the network. So it's not actually pulling from WebSockets or anything, and I think for a real chat app, you definitely want WebSockets. Obviously, anything you want to have some kind of real-time interaction with, you're going to need WebSockets. So I got some inside info here that I want to go through, and again, this is not officially documented code, so if you're watching this, 6 months from now, this may actually be different, so be sure to check for future episodes on WebSockets here. But essentially, let's take a look at our app. So I'm going to go ahead and just register, which is just going to log me in again here, so now I can write messages. Okay. And you see it shows up there. So over here, I've still got my server running, and what I want to do is create a new app. Let's just do a quick ls. So I'm going to make a new directory called test. Let's just go socket test maybe. So we'll change down into socket test. And all I'm going to do here is just say yarn init to kick off a new project. Just gonna yes to everything basically. The next thing I'm gonna do here is just say yarn add ws, which is a WebSocket library. Let's go ahead and clear that up. So now we should be able to just jump into Node, and we can say const web. Well, hold on. Yeah, WebSocket equals require ws, and we should have WebSocket now. Cool. So the next thing to do is actually just listen to it, right? So we're going to say const socket equals new web socket, and then I actually went ahead and pasted in a URL over here so I don't have to type this thing out. Feel free to kind of pause and copy this down. So it's wss://api2.aleph.im/api/ws0, which I assume is like the very first version of WebSockets, messages, so on and so forth. So I'll let you read that. Assuming we can actually change this to be other content types here, or maybe even string them together, you know, like that, but I don't know, I haven't experimented enough with it yet. But let's go ahead and kick off this socket. So all I'm going to do here is just define a function on the socket, socket.onMessage equals, and we need to give it a parameter e or event, however you want to do that. And all I'm going to do is just say console.log json.parse e.data. So essentially we're getting back some JSON on this data here, or on this event, and then we're just parsing it and logging it. We can maybe explore that a little more in a second. Okay, but that's it really, I think. So let's come over here and let's trigger a new message. So I'll just write a message, hello socket. And we'll go ahead and submit, and you'll see that instantly we're streaming hello socket over here. So that's pretty much what we wanted. So we'll get into the decentralization aspect and explain that a little more in an upcoming episode, I think. But I mean, just as a comment, what's cool about this is you could be running this on your computer, playing around with it, and if you put a message in here right now, it would show up here in my WebSocket. So it's not like this is all just running locally. And in fact, I think that this particular socket code may only be deployed right now on this API 2 endpoint. But as code, and I don't know the exact process for how code gets deployed across all the different network nodes. I assume it's up to the nodes to some extent to update the code base or what have you. But as things get updated across all the nodes, you could be listening to any node and you would get the same data coming out, in theory, is my understanding right now. So if I'm wrong and somebody's watching who knows better, please leave a comment and let me know, or reach out on Telegram or what have you. But that's kind of my understanding, and that's what I'm basing some of my thoughts on right now. So I think that's pretty cool. Just really quick, let's redefine that function. Let's say on message, and let's just console.log e and just see if there's any other interesting stuff in there. And I'll just post another thing, testing e. So we get a whole bunch more stuff now. So it's really just some sort of default stuff on the socket. And then you can see we have the data here. The type is message. That might be kind of interesting to use later. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else we should explore there. But that's where it is. So you have this string of JSON here. So we're just parsing that essentially. So yeah. Be interesting to kind of dig into all of this and see like if there's any other. I think one of the things, and I'm kind of just riffing because I'm thinking about what we're going to build. So I think it'd be interesting to build sort of like something like a Discord or Slack or something like that. That's kind of a chat where you have different channels and all this sort of stuff. But maybe you can even like restrict access to who's able to use your particular server or whatever, so you could potentially say like I want to exclude messages coming in where the address is not whitelisted or something like that. I don't know 100% yet, but we're gonna do some interesting stuff with this and I'm pretty excited about it. I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I just wanted to kind of document somewhere how the WebSockets worked and get this info out there. So with that said, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. If you have any questions or feedback, love to hear it. And I'll talk to you in the next episode.